All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Galactic Reviews. This week, we watched the fourth and presumably the final John Wick movie.
I
Honestly,
hope so.
I would hope so. I looked it up and they said that it's supposed to be the final movie, but they're theoretically trying to persuade the director and Keanu
No,
Reeves to do another one,
no.
but I don't think they can pull it off. To be perfectly honest, I don't see how they can. They're already having two spin-off TV shows that are coming out the end of this year and I think next year or something like that.
What are the shows?
Because Andrew wants to
I would
review
have
them.
to relook it up. Hold that up. Hold on.
Andrew loves John Wick. He wants to review him.
John Wick's fine. John Wick is our generation's Chuck Norris.
No, that's Keanu Reeves is our generation's Chuck Norris.
You're right.
John Wick is our generation's Texas Ranger.
There you go. Yes, there you go.
The Continental, which is coming out later this year, is going to be a TV show, and I think there was another one, but I don't think it had given a name. I think they just said they're in the process of making a second.
Untitled John Wick project.
Yeah, but they are doing the Continental, so
Nice.
I do not know what it's about.
I'm going to
I
assume the
haven't read the
Continental,
descriptions. Well, yes, but
the
regardless,
reinstatement of his hotel.
this is over the fourth movie, the final movie. I didn't have that many problems with it. The only problem I had was the fight scene with his nunchucks, because there were a few times where 100% those nunchucks did not make any contact.
I got tired with the series probably with three. I watched all four of them to get ready for this because I hadn't seen any of them. First one was fine. It was a novel idea. I was like, whoa. Second one, I was like, this is just kind of John Wick 1, but part two. And then the third one and the fourth one, I'm like, okay, this is just the fight choreographer stroking themselves off. And that's all this is. I
However, I
This one I thought was the most ridiculous. It was the longest. It was
it well to me this one, because I it's been a while since I've seen them all like back to back. I don't remember the ending of the third one that well, and to me the fourth one just didn't really have a plot. It just
okay.
existed.
So
Um,
first one, random Russian mob boss's punk kid kills John Wick's dog and steals his car because he likes his car and couldn't get it. So he goes on a vengeful path to kill the guy. John Wick 2, he is trying to get his car back now, essentially. He's just kind of like cleaning up the rest of his mess because he's still being hunted down by the Russian dad. And then at the very end of the movie, Payson, do you care about spoilers?
No, I don't
At
care.
the very end of John Wick 2, he kills a dude in the Continental. I forget why he was so angry over the guy.
it's
Um,
because the guy had forcibly brought him back
oh,
into
that's right. It was the marker.
the bounty hunter.
Um,
Yeah.
that's right.
Hmm.
There's these little marker things. So basically, if you do a favor for someone, now they owe you a debt, and so you're kind of bound to that. And the guy was like, "I have your marker. You owe me." And so he came back in, and then the guy tried to kind of like backstab him and be like, haha, now I'm gonna kill John Wick. And so he's took him out. But in the Continental, which is no, you're not allowed to do business on the Continental. So now he got excommunicado and put a really big bounty on his head. And so basically all of the assassin realm was after John Wick, starting with John Wick 3. And so he's kind of just running and killing and trying to like speak to he's trying to find this guy named the Elder, which they see
Yeah.
in John Wick 4 because he's above the table, the only thing above the table. And so he gives John Wick a mission. And if he completes it, he'll be kind of forgiven. And his mission is to kill the manager of the Continental because the manager of the Continental broke the rules by giving him an hour's time. Which at the end of 2, he's like, "You're excommunicado, but I can give you 1 hour." And that was like breaking the rules. He shouldn't have done that. He should just kill him on the spot. 3 ends by kind of like he's like, "I'm not going to kill the manager. He's my friend." Um, And then they go to war against the table because the table tries to take over the Continental, and John Wick wins, of course. But the manager of the Continental is like, I want to make a deal with you, High Table. Let me keep my hotel because you're obviously not going to be able to beat John Wick. And they're like, okay, but we still have a rule breaker. And he's like, true, and just shoots John Wick, and then John Wick falls off the building. And they're like, cool, that wraps it up. But he didn't die because the homeless people took him. And so they nursed the homeless people, nursed him back to health. Morpheus and Neo, part 5. And then 4 is him just waging war against the High Table because now he's mad because he didn't want to be brought back in and they forced him. And then
Well, to
Daredevil
me,
shows up.
between 3 and 4, it just seems like a blur. Like he's taken in by the homeless people. Next thing I know, he's in the middle of the desert.
So in 3, he went to the desert to find the elder. And
Oh,
now
did
he's
he?
like, I'm
Okay.
gonna kill the elder
Okay.
because
Okay. It's been, like I said, it's
it's
been
screwed me
so
over.
long since I've seen the third one. I didn't remember the ending.
That's
Okay.
where he originally found the elder. So he went back to
Yeah.
be like, give me back. So when he made the deal, they were he was basically making the deal to not only be no longer excommunicado, but like a forever slave of the table. So he'd be forgiven and they wouldn't hunt him down, but he'd be ever forever like bound to the table. And so to show his loyalty, he cut his ring finger off.
Yeah.
And so he was like, give me back my ring. And that's why he was there.
Okay. Okay. Well,
This one I thought was
regardless,
the most ridiculous, mainly because they just had a blind guy as the main protagonist or the main antagonist. I was like, this is not a superhero universe. You just have a random blind guy in there kicking butt.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, that is a fair point.
that is a very fair point.
Especially with the duel at the end, just a blind guy. I don't see how he hit any of those shots.
Like this is not this is not Marvel, and you just this dude doesn't act like he can't see other than when he's not fighting.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't need to
no,
be
100.
blind, so I don't know why they decided to make him blind.
They got bored and they were like, you know what, we're gonna have a blind guy.
That sounds about right.
How do we make this even cooler? They're a victim of Fast and Furious syndrome.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I
They just needed to keep
enjoyed.
finding a way to make the
Yeah,
villains cooler. So this
I
one they made
enjoyed.
them
I
disabled.
enjoyed watching the blind guy fight because there were a lot of times where it just looked like he was just waving his sword around, but I know it was very methodical. But it
Yeah,
100% just
so
looked
like
like
and
he was just
before,
waving it around,
yeah, so
hoping to make
it's I mean,
contact.
again, it's the fight choreographers stroking themselves off. That's all these
Yeah,
movies are. And they have different ways to do that in each of the movies.
yeah.
I mean, you can see it more and more when they bring in different cultures and have their different fight styles. Um, and then like the sumos, you can see them like hitting with their hands like a sumo push. And then like the ninjas actually fighting with swords. I thought that was cool. And the blind guy just flailing around.
Honestly, regardless, I did enjoy most all of the fighting except with the nunchucks because there were a lot of scenes like he didn't hit.
What
He
really
did
got
not
me
make
was the
contact.
stairs. What
Oh, the
really got me
stairs
was the stairs.
where he got kicked down like the 200
Just kept
steps.
going.
I was like, okay, he's gonna stop. And then I see like another flight of stairs go in the distance. I'm like, okay, he's just going all the
He
way.
just kept rolling.
It
It's
was
fine. It's this is Michael Bay 2.0. It's action for the sake of action and it's fun. The plot
I
is
will
secondary.
say, yeah, the plot is secondary. I think it was all in all a good finale if they keep it a finale. The first hour of the movie was pretty much just only combat. There was no dialogue. I enjoyed the fact that John Wick said almost nothing in this movie like he did in the first movie.
Minute 1. Yeah. Nothing else.
Yeah, pretty much. He says sentences of like 3 words, which I enjoy that from like a protagonist that it worked for him in the first movie, and then they started to give him plot in the second and third
It's
movie, and then they went back to doing this. So I'm
what's
confused at
funny is
like
it
his character development.
this this character makes Keanu Reeves look like a bad actor. But we know he can act from his previous movies. It's just this character
I
specific
think, well, I
is
think
just
solely
very awkward.
because I've watched like him do um like talk about this movie. He focused mostly on the choreography for these stunts. So that's
Yeah,
probably
before
one
he said
reason
yeah, he
why.
went, "What's my line?" Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That was it. Okay.
I'm sure they cut down a lot of the his dialogue because of that. So,
I mean, after this one, they better not have another one because he's gonna have to buy more gifts. But he bought his stunt team, his three stunt doubles. They all have matching Rolexes now,
oh,
like
where's my
custom
Rolex?
matching Rolexes.
Can you get me a motorcycle? I mean, I know he's got his own shop or whatever, right? I mean,
Yep. So
regardless,
if
I mean,
they
they
make
did
five, he's
they did
gonna
a
be
pretty
like,
good job.
yeah,
You get a
like
car, you get a car.
as with a lot of other movies like Transformers or any Michael Bay movie, like the action is a device for the plot. With these movies, the plot is a device for the action.
Yeah.
Pretty
The
And
much,
only
it's
yeah.
good.
thing
It's really good fighting. And it's
I think,
creative fighting.
yeah. One thing I was concerned about was if this was the end of the movie, how were they going to sum up the the girl, the blind guy, who the blind guy who the
The
person the
daughter
blind
of
guy
the guy that
killed. Yeah, the daughter, Pinks.
Koji's daughter.
Yeah, that one. I don't remember the name of the guy. But yeah, no, I was confused on how they were gonna sum that up, and then they summed that up in like
That's
two
the
seconds.
untitled John Wick project.
They summed that up in 2 seconds, and I was like, well, dang, he gets his wish and then it goes off like that. That's sad.
That's funny. That's poetic
that
justice.
that is. I was like, dang, he didn't even get to speak to his daughter.
So yeah, I was really curious. I was like, John Wick's not gonna lose. You're not gonna do 4 movies and then just have him lose at the end. They're gonna have so many like angry fans. That's just bad writing if they do that. But also like you can't have him just wrap it up cleanly and be like, kill the blind guy. That was easy. All right, time to go home to my dog. Like that also seems like anticlimactic.
Also,
Um,
the fact the dog wasn't in this movie at
he was
all.
he was
He was at the very end, the final
okay.
scene
Yeah.
with. I mean, that was it. But they had
Well,
another
okay,
dog,
hold on. Yes, no, his second dog he gave to the guy that got shot at the very. He gave it to the
homeless guy. But I thought he
no,
gave that dog to.
not the
Well,
homeless
then why
guy.
did
He
the
gave
homeless
it
guy
to,
have it?
that's again because he gave it to the what's the concierge. He gave it to the concierge.
Yeah. No, I know
But
that.
he dead
And I'm
now.
like, that was his dog. But
How'd the
then
homeless
why
guy
did
get
the
it?
homeless guy have it? Yeah, then how did the homeless guy get the dog?
Morpheus picked it up. I don't know.
All right, thanks. That sums up the whole plot.
These movies are what happened in between Matrix 3 and Matrix 4.
Is that why Matrix 4 is so bad?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves just got too distracted making John Wick.
Anyways,
So, what are you guys gonna
movie.
rank this movie? I guess.
For this movie, I'm trying to think because I'm trying to put it in the average with all the other three movies as well. Which one the first one I like the most, obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
Um,
first one. I was gonna give it like an 8. Like
I was
it's a
gonna give
device for that.
like an
It doesn't have any plots. It's
8.59.
pretty
Yeah.
simple, pretty straightforward. It's just a lot of fun. And then they kind of like 2 is just kind of like a little bit of the same thing. It just gets more into the lore.
Yeah.
3 and 2 are kind of like a little bit the same, and then 4 is just on the other end of the spectrum where this was just fighting galore.
Hmm.
As a whole, the series I'd give it like a 6. As a whole, like it's fun, but it's not like life changing. None of the characters like impacted me. None of the characters made me want
I
to get a
mean,
tattoo based off them.
Well, that and honest, they introduce a character in one movie and that character disappears.
They introduce a
You'll
character
never see that
in 5
character
minutes.
again, which is a little disappointing. But yeah, no, the first one is the best. Um, I think the what is it? The third one, I think it was in my opinion the worst. The second was just mediocre, and the fourth one I just enjoyed because of the choreography for the most part. Um, so all in all, I would have to give
I
this
liked the
as a
I liked the like the main like the final boss of 3. That one was fun.
yeah, but that was the only thing going for it in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of like
it
it was essentially Mr. Incredible versus Syndrome. The guy was like a super fan, but he was also like, I have to kill you, but like big fan. That was a lot of the interactions.
yeah. Um, as a whole for a series, I would have to give this a 7. And for the fourth movie, I would also have to probably give it yeah, probably like a 6.57.
I think
It's
the
just the
last movie is
second and
also
third
like
movie. Yeah.
I think what
It's
got
just
me for
there wasn't enough plot for me. It was just a
the
whole bunch
last
of
one was just
fighting,
too
which I
long.
enjoyed. Yeah, it was
Like
really
I got
long. It
bored.
was mostly only fighting, and I was like, where is the plot going? It's mostly only fighting. Like John Wick says nothing to drive the plot. Everyone else is driving the plot. Every time you see John Wick, he's just fighting.
As it should be.
Yeah, I don't know. No, Payson.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you did or didn't watch it.
Oh, I watched it. I watched it.
Okay.
I just
What
had
was your
nothing. I
feelings
just
about
had
it?
nothing. Um, I also, like you, did not quite like the nunchucks bit. It went from fast-paced guns and swords to all of a sudden just nunchucks. Just
I also really love how
it's
he
just
fights because it doesn't look refined. He doesn't, it's not like he's like a master of the martial arts and like super clean. He's just like a brick wall. Just
yeah,
Well, let's be honest. He jumped out of what the third story and landed on top of like a van and then on the ground and still got up and walked away.
yeah,
He pretty much broke his back like falling off of like a bridge onto um a piece of railing and then on concrete and he still got up and killed a guy. That was pretty much just
just like me for
I
real.
yeah. I don't know what this guy's training like regimen is, but let me know.
I'll give this one like a 7. I 7.5. I enjoyed it.
I zoned out about 3/4 of the way through. I was just waiting for it to be over at that point.
I can understand. When I
I
saw the
went,
movie
oh
was
boy,
almost three
another
hours.
fight. I hope he doesn't lose.
Yeah. When it was 3 hours, I'm like, okay, they're gonna do a lot of plot, a lot of talking. They're gonna be having huge fights, and the first hour is pretty much
At
just
him.
one fight scene. I was like, huh, all right. Where I mean, I liked it, but um, where's the
The
plot?
John Wick movies are is John Wick movies are one long fight scene with like little breathers. They go,
Yeah,
say 5 words and then go back to it.
It's enjoyable though.
Oh, 100%.
yeah. No, I know we're talking a lot of shit about this, like these movies, but I do
They're
enjoy
fun.
them. Um, they're a movie you kind of just watch when you want to see good choreography for a fight scene, in my opinion.
When you're bored, you really don't want to care about plot or anything. You just want to see something fun.
The only one, in my opinion, you would go out of your way to watch, like when you got friends or whatever over, is the first movie. Still, that's all you really need to watch. You can watch that movie and be satisfied, and you don't have to watch any of the other ones.
Yeah.
It's just the choreography is really what makes the other ones interesting. The only other thing
We
is I kind of want to read the I think it's a comic book for John Wick. I think it is.
I didn't
we
know you liked
That
collectively
comic
is what
talked
book.
more Then John Wick
What?
had words in the movie.
I didn't know he had a comic book.
Yes, this is all based off of like a book series or a comic book series.
Oh, didn't know that.
I believe it is. Let me double check.
Gonna have to find that and give that a read. Assuming you're not lying to me.
What I typed in what is John Wick based off of, and the first thing is no, John Wick is not based on a true story.
Dang it!
No,
No,
Keanu
he will
Reeves.
be.
And how
No,
involved
actually, I
are
take it
you?
back. No, the story is completely original. It's not based on anything. I
Okay.
think people in the like when the first movie came out were trying to compare it to things, and that's what I heard.
Yeah, if I
I
had to
never
compare
looked
it
it
to
up.
anything, yeah, if I had to
It's a
compare it to
100%
anything,
original story. That's cool.
if I had to compare like it's like Andrew said, his fight style is more it's got no like refinement. It's just hit brick wall sort of thing.
Even
That
though
kind of
his name is the Boogeyman, but you
yeah.
know,
I mean, it reminds me a lot of Rorschach from The Watchmen.
yeah.
So also
I mean,
kind of
it
the
worked for
question.
him.
So also the
It worked
question,
for
which is
him.
based off of Rorschach is based off of, remind me a lot of him too. Just that when Andrew made that comparison, I was like, oh, I can see that.
Yeah, they have the same voice.
They had I will say they did have a few lines that I enjoyed, like quips in this movie I enjoyed.
Yeah,
Um for the few lines that they did have that were any development wise. But I'm trying to think of anything else that I want to say or
I
do.
liked the one character, black character with the dog. I thought he was cool. I thought he was a
He
cool little
had
like.
great character development.
I
but
thought
he
he
was
was a
just
cool little
nobody.
like outsider character. He wasn't in it to kill John Wick. He
No,
was in it
but
to make John
it
Wick's
was
bounty as
mostly
high as
well,
possible and then kill John Wick.
it was
And
what
I
I
thought the
enjoyed was
concept
the
of that
fact of
was
the
super cool.
ending. Yes, the ending of where he realizes John Wick isn't a villain just because John Wick didn't let this guy shoot his dog. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just gonna circle all the way back.
Of course. What if he's just a bad guy that doesn't like that doesn't like animal cruelty? He's a
It's
bad guy, but you know he's not a bad guy.
it's a deja vu with dogs. Goes full circle.
And I like how he's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't kill John Wick. He saved my dog. I'm like, what were you gonna do if John Wick didn't save your dog? Were you just gonna hunt him down, hunt like everyone he knows down, kill all of them? Pretty much, just restart the John Wick franchise all over just with this character named Nobody. I also thought that was quite interesting and funny. Throughout the whole thing, he never gave out his actual name. He's just Nobody. I don't know if you can call that like a genius move or just you were too lazy to give this character a name. Either way, I mean, it worked.
Probably both.
Either way, it worked.
It's probably one trying to disguise itself as the other to the point where you can't differentiate the two unless you know.
And I don't. I don't know, apparently.
Well,
I
I
think
don't
we
think
uh,
so.
spoke more collectively than John Wick did in all four movies.
I've spoken about as much as he did before. So
Yeah, no, probably.
thank you for watching this episode of Galactic Reviews. Join us next time. We'll be watching the Super Mario Brothers movie. And
For a moment there, I thought it was like The
Hmm.
Little Mermaid, and I was like, we're watching The Little Mermaid next, Andrew?
What are y'all talking about?
we'll see you next time on Galactic Reviews.